We just arrived in a small town in northeastern California.
Yes, sir, with the increase of wind and
Name of the town is Doyle, California.
I'll pull my crew up for a little bit.
So far, 33 homes have been destroyed here. Resident Jeff McCarger fears his home may be next. As flames have reached the front gate of his family's home that he refuses to leave.
A month ago, we had my daughter's wedding here. That's where the altar was.
McCarger says it all began on July 2nd, 2021, when lightning strikes in the Plumas National Forest on Sugarloaf Peak, becoming known as the Sugar Fire, quickly exploding into what's known as a mega fire, burning 100,000 acres or more, 40,000 hectares, generating its own powerful winds, racing across 30 miles, 50 kilometers of pine forest and grasslands over a 10-day period, reaching Doyle, California, Jeff McCarger's community, incinerating almost everything in its path. It was last night, says McCarger, when the fire raged over this mountain in front of his home, awakening him with a deafening roar.
The only way I could describe it, maybe 100 jet airplanes screaming. That actually scared the out of me. I was ready to go.
McCarger flees on his all-terrain vehicle as a neighbor's home next door burns to the ground. It's unclear if fire crews here will be able to save Jeff McCarger's home.
Sir, just tell us a little about what's going on right here. What are you guys trying to do?
So basically, we're just trying to protect the structures that are in here.
Veteran firefighter William DeLeo and his crew arrived here from Salt Lake City, Utah, 600 miles away to assist 500 federal and California state fire personnel here. Struggling in outdoor temperatures at 110 degrees, 43 Celsius, and much hotter near the flames.
Tell our viewers what you guys feel like when you arrive at the scene of a massive fire like this, and in terms of how successful you think you can be, or is it just you against Mother Nature and it's roll the dice?
A lot of it's us against Mother Nature.
CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Tony Brownell says it appears there is no end in sight to these wildfires.
Is it going to get any better, Tony, in the future?
I don't think so. We're going to start seeing this year after year.
What is stunning about these wildfires in California is that more than 5,000 of them had broken out in just the first half of 2021. It's estimated there will be far more in 2021 than in all of 2020, which itself was a record year for wildfires in the state, says California's top fire official Tom Porter, director of CAL FIRE, that employs nearly 9,000 firefighting personnel, including dozens on scene here in Doyle, California.
We have more fires by far than we had this time last year, more acres burned. We're definitely worse than we were last year, and the conditions are worse than they were last year, which has us concerned about what the future might hold this season.
Climate change, he says, a main factor.
We are definitely seeing the continued and accelerating pace of what climate change is doing to our efforts and to wildfire activity in the state. And really throughout the western United States and across the world.
For example, north of California in the state of Oregon, the Bootleg Fire was projected the largest U.S. wildfire or wildland fire in 2021, with 500,000 acres burned, only to be surpassed, almost doubled in size, astonishingly, weeks later, back here in Northern California by the Dixie Fire. Nearly 1 million acres burned, destroying nearly 1,000 homes and commercial structures, burning for more than a month in some places. An inferno Chief Porter says was accelerated by extreme drought driven by climate change.
Climate change driven drought is really changing the environment the firefighting and the fire environment in California.
It's the burning of California's majestic, world-famous redwood trees in 2020 that Porter says is a disturbing barometer for what's to come.
We're seeing redwood fires burning and killing 1,000-plus-year-old trees. And if they lived for 1,000 years, they went through a lot of fires before now. And to be killed by fire in 2020 it's a catastrophic event, and it points to a changing climate that we really need to get on top of.
Director Porter says when he began his firefighting career 30 years ago, a wildfire this size, for example, around Doyle, California, was a once-in-a-career fire in the career of a firefighter. Fires that were actually known as career fires, dating back to the 1960s.
And we were seeing those on a once-in-a-career basis. In the 90s, things started to change, and career fires were starting to come maybe twice in a career. And then you fast forward into the early 2000s, and they're starting to happen every 4 to 5 years. And since about the 2007-8, haven't heard anybody talk career career fires anymore. Career fires are a thing, it's a lexicon of the past. And we see what would have been career fires early in my career. We see them sometimes 2, 3 at a time, burning at the same time in different parts of the state.
California is now spending $2 billion a year fighting wildfires, the majority of them caused by faulty power lines, neglected campfires, fireworks, and people tossing cigarette butts. Arsonists as well have been accused of purposely setting several fires. More recently, an increasing number have been ignited by lightning strikes, like this 2020 blaze in Northern California that burned more than 200,000 acres, known as the North Complex Fire. Husband and wife volunteer firefighters Craig and Sandy Barassa witnessed the North Complex Fire firsthand. They moved here to rural Butte County several years ago to get away from city living in the San Francisco Bay Area, opening a small, popular restaurant here that nearly burned to the ground when the North Complex Fire raged around them. A fire that ultimately claimed the homes of most residents in their community.
About 95% of our community was actually lost in the North Complex Fire. I mean, the winds were just incredible.
They say at one harrowing moment during the fire, they had split up so that Craig could assist other fire crews in the area, while Sandy went her way to check on their home nearby.
We had split up at that point, had no idea what was going to happen, whether we would ever even see each other again.
Craig was then told by fire crews that Sandy needed to abandon their house.
And they said to him, she needs to go. Like, this is too big, she needs to go.
Their community and many small rural mountain communities in California where fires often break out rely heavily on volunteer firefighters like them to sound the alarm when events like this get underway. And because professional firefighters are often too busy fighting fires elsewhere. The Butte County Fire Department, supporting CAL FIRE, provides Craig and Sandy a fire squad like this one and a water truck so they can respond within minutes, if need be, to a fire and other emergencies, rather than wait for a professional fire crew to arrive.
Without volunteers, the response time would definitely be longer. I can tell you up here it would take 20 minutes to half an hour if we don't show up. And we can be on call, we can be at scene within minutes.
They've been married almost 3 decades, are together almost 24 hours a day. While they encourage other couples to become volunteer firefighters, they say firefighting can sometimes bring stress to married life.
Is marriage like a fire, or is a fire like marriage?
It has its ups and downs.
Yeah, it could blow up. It could blow up like a fire now and again, for sure,
But do you worry about the state of California?
Definitely. It's a big worry.
Yeah,
It's a really big worry.
21st century is hard on everybody. I mean, in 100 years, we've come this far, you know, with fossil fuels and cars and technology, and who knows what the next 100.
We don't get the rains that we used to get. Things are extremely dry, and that's why what has happened has happened. Today, you know, it's 107 degrees out here, but 10, 20 years ago, everything still would have been pretty green. We would have had water in our lakes and in our streams and our ponds and those kinds of things, and we just don't have that anymore. There is a CAL FIRE website that you can go to that will actually show a map of California, and it will show you all the active fires. It's pretty real time. They update it a couple of times a day, and it will show you all the active fires. And it's all over California. And I mean, especially this time of the year, that map is red. That map is red. Those fires are everywhere, everywhere.
Craig says, based on his experience and what he's seen in these dense mountainous regions of California, the state, he says, needs to spend more money clearing underbrush that fuels so many fires to prevent fires in the first place, rather than spending billions after they are ignited every year to fight them.
I think if our government would prevention versus defense, and get rid of brush underneath trees like that.
But yeah, removing the brush, the underbrush, and keeping it up.
An alarming byproduct of thousands of fires each year in California is the impact fighting them is now having on firefighters, say veterans like William DeLeo, presently fighting the wildland fire here in Doyle, California, working 24-hour shifts before getting just a few hours to sleep. Some earn as little as $25,000 a year. Some veterans making around $50,000 a year. Many have said the wages are appallingly low for what they do.
How long have you been fighting fires, William?
21 years.
How old are you?
53.
53? Hard for guys that have families?
Oh, yeah, it's super hard. I've had co-workers that, you know, they're away so much in the summer they kind of miss their kids growing up. It's a big stress on a lot of families.
CAL FIRE Director Tom Porter has been to the front lines, he says, and seen firsthand far more cases of fatigue than usual with his men and women. Fatigue, he says, that is also coming far earlier in the fire season than normal because his personnel, he says, have been fighting so many fires with little rest.
There's acute fatigue from being on for 24 or maybe longer hours at a time, but there's also the extended fatigue of being away from home for a number of days. And we've already had people out for multiple weeks at a time. And so those things are early. We don't expect to see that this time of year normally, and with all the activity that's happening.
For example, this CAL FIRE firefighter we are filming in Doyle, California, who's been out here fighting this blaze for more than a week, fights to stay awake as we prepare to interview him.
You look very tired.
It's been a long few days.
36 hours, he says, without a break. That's what it takes to fight the mega fire here in Doyle, California.
We come to these small communities, and especially Doyle, they've been hit. This is the second time they've been hit. Our hearts just go out to them.
Late this afternoon, Doyle resident Jeff McCarger finally watches as fire crews manage to stop the fire as it gets within just a few feet from his home.
Do you feel lucky?
Oh, hell yes. Yes. Yes.
Probably people around the world are watching this asking, why do you continue to live here?
It's still here, isn't it?
It's still here.
There you go.
However, after surviving what is now his fourth wildfire, McCarger concedes the great American West appears in great peril from many more fires that will undoubtedly come.